the latest updates from your guys, like the evaluation of scrimmage and stuff?
Scrimmage was not as good as I would have liked. I don't know if it ever is, right? First day of tackling is always a challenge. You thud and you tag and you do all those things, even when you do them in a proper way. When you finally have to wrap a guy up and take him to the ground, it's a whole different ball game, and I wasn't overall pleased with that. Hopefully it will be better this Saturday. I thought from an assignment standpoint, through 6 practices, we were pretty sharp, and I thought our effort overall was good, but good's the enemy of great, and we want to make sure our straining level is as high as anybody in the country moving forward.
With so many seniors gone from last year, how have you seen the competition improve in spring practice?
Well, competition certainly exists everywhere you look. It doesn't matter if it's a safety position that we've talked about a little bit or anywhere else, and it doesn't matter if it's a returning starter or not. I think that's extremely healthy. I'm also philosophically a believer in playing 22-plus guys as much as you can. I think it does a number of things. I think it keeps you fast. I think it keeps you conditioned. So late in the first half and late in the game, you're still playing fast because you've rested guys and played guys. And I think it keeps morale high. So as we compete for starting jobs, the bulk of the two-deep knows that they're going to be called upon and used, and I think that's important.
I think the assistant coaches in here today mentioned D. Walker, like going inside at linebacker, and I think Carl standing back up. Is other position movement going on?
We moved Dwayne Eugene outside to take a look at him. Those were the 3 primary. We're moving the safeties back and forth so they get exposure to both the strong and free safety positions. We've played Josh Liddell and Micah Smith at the nickelback a little bit as well. You know, springtime is a time to experiment, and as we install this defense, part of our objective is trying to find out where guys fit the best, and that's what the last 3 weeks and 7 remaining practices will be spent figuring out.
What's the crucial element that needs to materialize on Saturday?
Want to tackle better. Don't want to give up big plays. Overall, we gave up 1 every 27 and a half plays. If you figured it out just mathematically, that's 2.5 big plays a game. That's not bad, but we gave up a number of them early, and that was concerning to me. Big plays, tackling, and making sure we're just playing as hard as we physically can as 11 for every single snap.
Just with all the spread offenses, just how much base-off defense does anybody play anymore with all the nickels and dimes and everything?
You know what? I don't know. With everybody else, we'll probably play more than we have in the past. I think part of that is what you're asking those guys to do. If you're asking a linebacker to go out there and play man coverage in space against the skill in this league, you're probably not very smart. If you're asking him to go out there and play an area and maybe play the run game on the edge, I think you can get away with that. When I was a coordinator at Pitt, I hardly ever played nickel package. I left our 3 linebackers on the field in all situations. That last year we were 5th in the country in total defense. You can do it and be successful. You just got to make sure the guys are what you're asking them to do is something they're capable of doing.
Which outside spot did Dwayne go to, and how did you think the Razor and the Hog did?
He's playing the Razor. He's playing the Razor, and we put Carl out there at the Hog. Okay. We'd like the Hog to have a little bit more weight to him, and the Razor to have a little bit more athleticism. So that's why they went in the direction that they did. For a position that's new to us, again, I wasn't at all disappointed in how those people played. And you're talking about, you know, a whole batch of them that are completely new to it. If anybody has a little background in it, it would be Randy Ramsey, and he's probably the furthest ahead because of it.
Is Bijan more of an end than a nose tackle?
No, he's still more of a nose tackle. We're exposing him to both. I think John Scott's doing a really, really good job of getting all those defensive linemen exposure at both positions. Ideally, you'd like that nose guard to be the size that Bijan is. What Bijan did on Saturday the later the scrimmage went, he really, really ran his feet well. And if you're 335 pounds and you're running your feet, you're probably going to do pretty well at that position. And he ended the game with an interception and his version of high stepping it towards the goal. And it wasn't pretty. Don't mistake it for pretty, but it was a pretty play.
We didn't see who tipped that. Was that Taylor or?
I believe that was Josh Harris, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe that might have been Josh Harris.
You said Liddell's playing some nickel. What have you seen out of him?
He's done a nice job with it. I threw him and Micah Smith to the Wolves on Tuesday. I just sort of coached them up briefly and threw them out there. I thought they both responded very well and did a nice job of executing something they had limited knowledge with. Athletically, certainly they're both capable of it. Kevin Richardson certainly is a guy that's playing the position in front of him and does a really, really nice job at it.
Were Dwayne and Carl, were they working with the twos or did you have them with the ones? Or I know it's all fluid. But
Carl has worked with both. You know, Carl was a guy that prior to the move was a number one at the end spot. You don't move a 1 to a 2, so he's moved over there and played with the number ones at the Hogs. Dwayne has gone out and based on overall play of those linebackers and where he was and moving out there, he's been more with the 2s this week at that razor spot, and D. Walker's been running with the 2s.
So that means who was running one weak side linebacker?
Grant Morgan and Josh Harris both. Yeah.
With Grant's background being Drew's little brother, coming here as a walk-on, do you think he's playing with more of a chip on his shoulder?
I would not say so at all. Grant is a very intelligent football player. He's a very intelligent person. He's a 3.7 student, I mean, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's a really sharp guy. He's sharp on the field as well. He plays fast because of that. And I don't see a guy with a chip on his shoulder. I just see a guy who's confident learning this new defense and trying to show that he can fit in and he's capable of playing. And he hasn't shown anything yet. It doesn't make me feel that he can.
So you were saying Kevin is probably the first nickel or is running
Yes.
first nickel. So does that mean Tolliver then is starting at one of the corners? How's
yeah.
he liking that? I know he's
like. I think he likes that quite a bit better. That wasn't home for Ray being inside, and so he and Ian Pulley are playing the left and right corners, Ryan on the left and Ray on the right, and that gives him a chance to really hone the techniques necessary to play that. You know, I've talked about the fact that losing Kevin was really, really hurt us, okay? It hurt us in our level of play and production with him out there in the field, but it also really hurt us on the practice field. We were very limited with the bodies that we had, and our guys got a little exhausted because of the number of snaps they took on the practice field.
That's with Josh Harris, because he seems to show up every scrimmage, but then when the games comes, it's mainly just special teams.
Josh is very much like Grant, or Grant's like Josh, however you want to look at it. Probably Grant like Josh because Josh is older, I believe. Both smart guys, both conscientious guys, both guys when you make a call you can count on to be where they're supposed to be and playing as hard and physical as they can be. And in this system, those spots get restricted a little bit in their space, and that benefits guys that maybe aren't the fastest and the biggest and the strongest. And it's not a slight on those guys. It's just an accurate descriptor.
They're playing guard to guard more.
Yeah. When you're not having to play a hash to hash or hash to sideline, right now that you got enough people outside you that cut down that space, it allows them to show up a little bit.
Brito was getting a lot of love last year before his injury. How have you seen him bounce back?
He had a good day today. Matter of fact, both days this week, I believe he's improved. We'll be anxious to see him. We held him out of last Saturday. Going to go this Saturday with him. So I'll be anxious to see him out there in a competitive scrimmage tempo and see how he responds. But finally started making some plays on balls in the last 2 practices that maybe he'd been a little bit tentative on in practices 1 through 6.
The scheme change that you've undergone, or you're convinced you're going in the right direction with that? How's the establishment of it gone?
I think without a doubt we're going in the right direction. I think the kids like it. I think they're building confidence in it. I think we're building confidence in it as a defensive staff as we put the playbook together and figure out the playbook's built around our personnel capabilities. And quite honestly, it's been fun to see that. And next 2 weeks, we're really going to enjoy ourselves as we start to experiment with some pressure and what we can do there.